Okay, so to better understand the whole pro Palestinian march that has been riding the streets of c- cities across the world, to better understand it, Michael Savage was interviewed on Newsmax about the history of Israel. And instead of calling it the occupation of Gaza, it's better to be a student of history and why Gaza and why Israel needs to be better understood in the historical sense. In this link, Michael Savage is interviewed by a guest host and he explains to the guest host, I'm sorry if I don't know his name, I don't watch Newsmax, I don't have cable, but in the interview, Michael Savage explains it a lot better. And the whole thing that's going on right now is that there's a lot of people that say Israel is occupying with barbed wires and basically calling it a prison camp in Gaza, when in fact this interview will explain what's really going on in Gaza and how this war is flatly being used as propaganda by Hamas, just like the attack on the hospitals and the attacks that are occurring all make Israel out to be like barbaric, when we know what happened October 7th was completely barbaric. And he goes into explaining the history of Israel's land and how God ordained it. But see, people that are atheists aren't going to listen to this. They're not going to understand or care to understand it. So the interview itself, while a lot of people are going to question where Michael Savage is coming from, you have to listen to Michael Savage to understand where he's coming from. I'm going to put the link in the description box below because I think it's very good to learn from it. There's two links. There's also another interview. Michael Savage was interviewed by another YouTube up and coming, very popular Stephen Gardner. There was two interviews in this with Michael Savage, and he was interviewed by Stephen Gardner too. So I think that if you listen to Michael Savage, he talks about in the second interview about his book, The Savage Republic. He wrote a book about what's happening in the political sense. The question is, should Christians ask questions about politics and prophecy? I think it's a very sensible way to look at the way the world is playing out in politics and prophecy, because we watched in the political sense what happened with Abraham Accords, and we watched that come to a complete halt before October 7th. There was peace and safety according to the UN um, agreements that were going on September 17th. And then, of course, couple weeks later, the attack that happened October 7th, and everything seemed to come to an abrupt halt. And people have been scratching their heads asking questions like, what happened to prophecy? But I do believe that peace and safety, then sudden destruction happened. I don't know if that's the same thing you could call October 7th as a sudden destruction, but it certainly, definitely is something to consider about what war broke out, and whether you consider it Psalm 83 or Ezekiel 38:39. You could waffle whether that's the case or not. Politics plays a huge part in prophecy. It's possible we can look at that and guess, you know, where is the time and timing of the soon return of the Lord and all this. We do know, if we were to and I'm just taking a guess at this, but the soon return of the Lord is closer and closer. Every time we get closer to these events, we're watching earthquakes, astounding ramping of earthquakes have just ramped up in the last couple weeks. 1,400 earthquakes in just one location alone, and volcanoes are now erupting at a rapid pace. I mean, things are ramping up. So, as things ramp up, it says, when you see these things come to pass, stand up and look up, for your redemption draweth nigh. And these are ramping up. These events are ramping up. According to Matthew 24, it said there will be earthquakes in diverse places, and there would be wars and rumors of wars. And we're seeing all these things coming to pass as these events are taking place. And we're right now in the beginning of the election season of 2024, and we're just starting to see the signs of the soon return of the Lord. But the thing is that there doesn't have to be a sign of the rapture. The rapture is the sign. The signs of the soon coming return of the Lord is the second coming of the Lord. That's at the very end. That's more or less when Jesus comes down to the Mount of Olives. I'm writing this down as I'm talking. That's the second coming. The rapture is when the Lord comes into the clouds. So we don't need a sign of his soon return. If you watch the video with Dr. David Jeremiah, he said there doesn't have to be a sign of the return of the Lord. He comes quickly and raptures the church. The signs of the soon return of the Lord are going to happen with or without the church being here. Those signs will continue to go on into the tribulation. We are not appointed to wrath, so we will be gone. The church will be gone as these events will continue. And then the two witnesses and the 144,000 will be here to prophesy, and there will be a great revival going on during the time of the tribulation of the Jewish people that were sealed. That 144,000 will be witnessing for Jesus Christ. So we will see that from our heavenly church in heaven. We will be with Jesus. We will be gone from this place. But until that time, these things are going to be ramping up, and there's going to be bowl judgments. There's going to be other biblical events that are coming right out of Revelation. And I'm writing this down so I don't forget my notes. So we're watching for these things, but those links are going to be in the description box below. And I went over my time a little bit, but I'm not sure it really matters. I really wanted to get a chunk of this because we are the people of the book, as referred to by a lot of Muslim Islamic people. But the thing is, the Bible, all these religions or faiths are all stem from the Bible. Okay? The one thing is that makes it different is Jesus Christ. It's if you believe on Jesus Christ, he's not a religion, he's a man who is God and King. He came as a man and became God and King. He is, and will be forever God and King. And the thing is, what makes Jesus so great is because he died for us and our sins. And the thing that makes this so relevant is that all those religions, all these beliefs, all these things that people question, atheists question the Bible, they all question everything. The one thing they cannot question is the death of Jesus Christ and his resurrection from the grave. He resurrected from the grave. He's the only one. He is the only one. He is the Alpha. He's the first, and he is the last. His words will never. His promise is a guarantee, and his promise was that he is forever. Is basically what I'm trying to say. I'm not spitting the words out fast enough, but in my studies, I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of homework. Sometimes I don't say it all. It's hard to put into words all the stuff that I've learned, but I'm doing the best I can. But I'm going to tell you, as these events ramp up, these things are all headed to one specific time, and it's the salvation of many. And most of the people that are going to be saved after we are raptured from this place, once we are transformed and raptured, is this tribulation. The rapture of the church happens first, and then tribulation comes next. And those who are saved during tribulation will be waiting for the events to take place for the second coming of Jesus Christ. That's the events that'll be ramping up. There'll be earthquakes, and Matthew 24 applies to that. So if you're in the time of the tribulation and you get to watch a video like this, you'll be looking for these events to take place for the soon return of the Lord, which will be 3.5 years. And during that time, it'll be hard to buy or sell as a Christian, because if you go to the grocery store and you have a grocery cart full of groceries, without the chip or mark, you will not be able to buy groceries. You won't be able to do anything without the chip. So this is the time to get saved now, so that you get it now. If you have any questions about the deity of Jesus Christ, I would pray, and I'd ask a pastor that is a Bible believing pastor. I'd watch videos. I would just do my homework. I would do my due diligence and study. This is the time to get to know who Jesus Christ is. Like, get your homework and get it done. Don't waste too much time asking erroneous questions about what's going on in the world. Even though it's important to know what's going on politically and philosophically, what the philosophical answers are, ask the philosophical question about who Jesus Christ was and is to come, because he's the way, the truth, and the life. And I hope I took the time to do that by telling you this much. He is the only way out of this. He said so himself. He's the way, the truth, and the life. No one can go to the Father but through Jesus Christ. Thanks for listening, and God bless you.